Right now, as you watch this, time is moving. 2026 isn't some distant future, it's here. And while you've been waiting, planning, hoping things would change, the world moved on without you. Someone weaker than you just made their first million. Someone less intelligent just took the position you wanted. Someone with half your potential just built the life you keep dreaming about. Why? Because they stopped waiting for the perfect moment and started building in the imperfect present. Meanwhile, you're still the same person you were last year, the year before, stuck in the same patterns, the same excuses, the same comfortable prison you call your life. Let me be brutally honest with you. The version of yourself you're living as right now is already obsolete. The habits you have, the mindset you carry, the way you respond to pressure, all of it is outdated. And if you don't destroy it and rebuild from scratch, 2026 will be the year you look back on with regret, the year you could have changed everything but chose comfort instead. Machiavelli knew this truth centuries ago. He understood that most men don't fail because they lack opportunity. They fail because they refuse to kill the version of themselves that no longer serves them. They cling to old identities, old beliefs, old weaknesses, and they die slow deaths of mediocrity. This video is not inspiration. It's not a pep talk. It's a surgical breakdown of what it takes to completely rebuild yourself before the year destroys you. You will learn how to identify the patterns that are killing your future, how to become ruthless with your time and energy, and how to step into a version of yourself that is unrecognizable to the people who thought they knew you. Watch every second, because what I'm about to reveal doesn't come from theory. It comes from the darkest truths of human psychology, the truths no one wants you to know. And by the end, you will have a choice: stay the same and fade into irrelevance, or rebuild and become dangerous. You think you know yourself. You think you understand why you do what you do, why you fail where you fail, why you succeed where you succeed. But here's the truth. You don't know yourself at all. What you call your personality is just a collection of responses you learned to survive. What you call your habits are just patterns you adopted to avoid pain. And what you call your identity is just a mask you wear to protect yourself from the fear of being nobody. Machiavelli understood that most men are not living their own lives. They are living the lives their parents programmed into them, the lives society demanded from them, the lives fear and comfort designed for them. You were never taught to think for yourself. You were taught to obey, to fit in, to be acceptable. And that programming is why you're stuck. Every time you try to change, that old programming pulls you back. Every time you try to be bold, a voice whispers. Every time you try to rise, something inside you says, stay small, stay safe, stay invisible. That voice is not you. That voice is the system that needs you weak, the system that profits when you doubt yourself, the system that keeps you distracted, entertained, and just comfortable enough to never rebel. And until you recognize that voice as the enemy, until you silence it permanently, you will never rebuild. You will just keep redecorating the same prison. So here's your first brutal truth. If you want to rebuild yourself in 2026, you must first destroy the old you, not upgrade him. Destroy him. Burn down every excuse, every justification, every story you've been telling yourself about why you are. You are not a victim of your past. You are a prisoner of the story you keep telling about your past. And the moment you stop telling that story, the moment you stop using your childhood, your trauma, your failures as reasons for why you can't, that's the moment you become free. That's the moment you can rebuild. Machiavelli said, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." Most men spend their entire lives waiting for permission to change. They wait for a sign. They wait for motivation. They wait for the right time. And while they wait, the world passes them by. You don't need permission. You don't need a sign. You just need to decide. Decide right now that the version of you that exists today is dead, and the version that will rise in 2026 is something no one has seen before. You've been told your entire life that slow and steady wins the race, that patience is a virtue, that good things come to those who wait. Those are lies designed to keep you passive. Machiavelli knew the truth. Speed and decisiveness crush hesitation every single time. The man who moves fast, even if imperfectly, will always dominate the man who waits for perfection. Look at the people winning around you. Are they smarter than you? Are they more talented? Rarely, but they moved faster. They took action while you were still planning. They made mistakes and learned while you were still afraid to start. That's the difference between those who rebuild and those who decay. Rebuilding yourself in 2026 means killing your addiction to comfort. Comfort is the enemy. Comfort is the slow poison that makes you believe you're fine when you're actually dying. Every time you choose comfort over challenge, you weaken. Every time you avoid the hard conversation, the difficult task, the uncomfortable truth, you shrink. Most men don't realize this until it's too late. They wake up at 40, 50, 60 and realize they spent their entire lives avoiding discomfort. And in doing so, they avoided growth, success, power, everything they ever wanted. Because here's the dark truth. Everything you want is on the other side of discomfort. The body you want requires pain. The wealth you want requires risk. The respect you want requires confrontation. And the person you want to become requires you to kill the person you are right now. That's not metaphor. That's strategy. You cannot become the lion while you're still acting like the sheep. You cannot build the empire while you're still thinking like the servant. And you cannot dominate 2026 while you're still living with 2020's mindset. Machiavelli wrote that men are so simple and so ready to obey present necessities that the one who deceives will always find those who allow themselves to be deceived. Most people are walking through life in a trance. They wake up, scroll, go to work, come home, scroll, sleep, repeat. But it's not. It's existence. It's autopilot. And while they drift, others are building. While they consume, others are creating. While they complain, others are conquering. You need to ask yourself a terrifying question. What have I actually built in the last year? Not what did I consume. Not what did I watch or read or talk about. What did I build? What can you point to and say, I created that, I own that, that's mine? If the answer is nothing, then you're not living. You're spectating, and spectators don't get remembered. They don't get rewarded. They don't get respected. They just get replaced. Here's your second brutal truth. Time is the only resource you can never recover. Money can be made again. Relationships can be rebuilt. Health can be restored. But time, once it's gone forever. And yet most men treat time like it's infinite. They waste hours on social media, on gossip, on distractions that add zero value to their lives. They say, I'll start tomorrow. I'll do it next week. I'll change next year. But tomorrow never comes. Next week is always next week, and next year turns into never. Machiavelli understood this. He knew that the leaders who hesitate are the ones who get conquered. The generals who wait for perfect conditions are the ones who lose wars. And the men who keep delaying their transformation are the ones who wake up one day and realize they wasted their entire lives. So if you're serious about rebuilding yourself in 2026, you need to become obsessed with time, not in a paranoid way, but in a strategic way. Every hour you waste is an hour your competition is using to get ahead. Every day you scroll is a day someone else is building. Every week you procrastinate is a week someone else is sharpening their skills, expanding their network, increasing their value. You think you have time. You don't. You think you can start later because later is a graveyard. Later is where dreams go to die. Later is the favorite word of people who never accomplish anything. The only moment you have is now, right now. this second, and either you use it to build or you use it to decay. There is no middle ground. Most men are terrified of being judged. They care more about what strangers think than what they think of themselves. They won't start the business because someone might laugh. They won't post the content because someone might criticize. They won't speak their truth because someone might disagree. And so they stay silent, they stay small, they stay invisible, and they die that way. Machiavelli said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." But here's the deeper truth. It is better to be hated for who you are than loved for who you are not, because approval from people who don't matter is worthless, and disapproval from people who don't matter is even more worthless. You need to understand something. The people judging you are not living your life. They're not paying your bills. They're not carrying your dreams. They're not waking up in your body. So why the hell do you care what they think? You've given strangers more power over your decisions than you've given yourself. And that's insane. That's self-sabotage. That's slavery. You are enslaved to the opinions of people who will forget you the moment you stop performing for them. Here's your third brutal truth. Most people will never understand you, and that's fine. You don't need to be understood. You need to be undeniable. When your results speak louder than their opinions, they stop talking. When your success becomes impossible to ignore, they stop doubting. And when your transformation is complete, they stop judging and start watching. That's the power of rebuilding yourself. You don't need permission. You don't need approval. You just need progress. Visible, undeniable, relentless progress. Machiavelli also understood that most men fail not because they lack talent, but because they lack ruthlessness. They're too nice, too polite, too afraid to offend. And that politeness kills them, because in a world where everyone is competing for the same limited resources, the same opportunities, the same positions, and weak men get devoured. You need to become ruthless with your time. If someone is wasting it, cut them off. If something is draining your energy, eliminate it. If a habit is keeping you stagnant, destroy it. Ruthlessness is not cruelty. Ruthlessness is clarity. It's knowing what serves you and what doesn't, and having the discipline to remove everything that doesn't. Most men keep toxic people in their lives out of guilt. They keep dead-end jobs out of fear. They keep destructive habits out of comfort. And they wonder why they never change. You cannot rebuild while you're carrying the weight of everything that's destroying you. You need to cut. You need to burn. You need to eliminate. Think of yourself as a sculptor. The masterpiece is already inside the stone, but you have to chip away everything that's not the masterpiece. Every distraction, every bad relationship, every limiting belief, every excuse. Chip it away, cut it out, burn it down. And what remains will be the strongest version of you that's ever existed. Here's the dark secret no one tells you. Your current circle is holding you back. The people you spend the most time with are programming you every single day. Their beliefs become your beliefs. Their standards become your standards. Their limits become your limits. And if they're not growing, you're not growing. Machiavelli warned that the prince must be careful in choosing his advisors, because the quality of his advisors reflects the quality of his mind. Translation: show me your friends and I'll show you your future. If your friends are broke, you'll stay broke. If your friends are lazy, you'll stay lazy. If your friends have no ambition, you'll have no ambition. Not because you're weak, but because humans are social creatures. We mirror the people around us. That's why you need to be ruthless about who gets access to you. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table. Not everyone deserves your energy, and not everyone deserves to be part of your rebuilding process. Some people need to be left behind, not out of hate, but out of necessity. Because if you're trying to fly and they're pulling you down, the relationship is over. You don't owe anyone your future. You don't owe anyone your potential, and you don't owe anyone your loyalty if they're not adding value to your life. That's survival. And in 2026, Survival means becoming selective about everything: who you talk to, what you consume, where you focus. Because focus is everything. Most men have the attention span of a goldfish. They start something Monday, quit by Wednesday, start something else Friday, quit by Sunday. Machiavelli understood that consistency is more powerful than intensity. The man who trains every day for a year will crush the man who trains intensely for a week, then quits. The man who builds his business slowly over 5 years will dominate the man who hustles for 6 months, then gives up. Rebuilding yourself in 2026 is not about one big change. It's about 1,000 small changes compounded over time. It's about showing up every single day, even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. Because feelings are irrelevant. Feelings are just weather. They change constantly. But discipline is the structure that holds when feelings fail. You don't need motivation. Motivation is for tourists. Motivation is for people who want to feel good, not people who want results. You need systems. You need routines. You need non-negotiable standards that you follow regardless of how you feel. That's how you rebuild. Not through bursts of inspiration, but through relentless execution, day after day after day. No excuses, no exceptions, no days off. Here's your fourth brutal truth. Rebuilding yourself will be lonely. Most people won't understand why you stopped going out, why you stopped responding to every text, why you disappeared from social media. They'll call you antisocial. They'll say you've changed. They'll accuse you of thinking you're better than them. And you know what? Let them, because you are changing. You are becoming better, and that makes them uncomfortable, not because you're doing anything to them, but because your growth reminds them of their stagnation. Machiavelli said, men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand. People see the surface but never feel the depth. They see your silence and think you're lonely. They don't see the work you're doing in that silence. They see your absence and think you're antisocial. They don't see the empire you're building in that absence. Let them think what they want. Let them talk. Let them judge. Because while they're spectating, you're executing. And when you emerge, they won't recognize you. You'll be stronger, sharper, wealthier, more disciplined, more focused, and they'll still be exactly where you left them, talking about what they're going to do someday. Now let's talk about something most self-help gurus won't tell you. Rebuilding yourself requires you to become comfortable with being disliked. Most men are addicted to being liked. They need validation. They need approval. They need everyone to think they're good people. And that need controls them. It makes them say yes when they should say no. It makes them dim their light so others don't feel insecure. It makes them play small so others feel comfortable. That's not leadership, that's cowardice. Machiavelli understood that the leader who tries to please everyone ends up pleasing no one. Because when you stand for everything, you stand for nothing. And when you stand for nothing, you get walked over. You need to develop an immunity to disapproval. You need to train yourself to hear no and keep moving, to hear criticism and stay focused, to be misunderstood and remain unbothered. Because here's the truth: the higher you rise, the more people will hate you, not because of who you are, but because of what you represent. Your success exposes their excuses. Your discipline highlights their laziness. Your growth reveals their stagnation. And instead of looking inward and fixing themselves, they attack you. They'll call you arrogant. They'll say you're fake. They'll accuse you of selling out, and you need to let them, because their opinions are not your problem. Their feelings are not your responsibility, and their projections are not your identity. You are rebuilding yourself for you, not for them, not for validation, not for applause, but for freedom, for power, for the life you know you deserve. And anyone who doesn't understand that can watch from the sidelines. Pain is the price of transformation. You cannot rebuild without destroying. You cannot grow without discomfort. And you cannot become powerful without enduring what weak men avoid. Most men run from pain. They numb it with distractions, drugs, entertainment, anything to avoid feeling it. But pain is not the enemy. Pain is the signal. It's your body, your mind, your soul telling you something needs to change. Machiavelli knew this. He knew that the princes who avoided hardship were the ones who lost their kingdoms. The generals who avoided battle were the ones who got conquered, and the men who avoided pain were the ones who stayed weak. If you want to rebuild yourself in 2026, you need to run toward the pain, not away from it. You need to seek the hard conversations, the difficult tasks, the uncomfortable truths, because that's where growth lives. That's where transformation happens. That's where the old you dies and the new you is born. Stop avoiding the gym because it's hard. That's exactly why you need to go. Stop avoiding the difficult project because it's overwhelming. That's exactly why you need to start. Stop avoiding the truth about yourself because it hurts. That's exactly why you need to face it. Pain is not your enemy. Comfort is. Comfort is the slow death. Comfort is the prison. Comfort is the cage that keeps you safe and small and stuck. And if you want to rebuild, you need to break that cage. You need to embrace the suck. You need to learn to love the grind, because the grind is where legends are made, not in the moments of glory, but in the moments when no one's watching, when your body is screaming to quit, when your mind is begging for rest, when your spirit is broken and you still show up anyway. That's when you rebuild. That's when you become someone new. And here's the final truth. 2026 will not wait for you. It will not slow down. It will not give you extra time because you weren't ready. The year is moving with or without you. The world is evolving with or without you. And the opportunities you're waiting for will go to someone else if you don't move now. Machiavelli's final warning was this: the man who hesitates is lost. Not eventually, immediately. Because in the time it takes you to think, someone else already acted. In the time it takes you to plan, someone else already executed. In the time it takes you to decide, someone else already won. You have time, at least for now. You have access to information more than any generation in history. You have tools, technology, resources that kings didn't have centuries ago. The only thing you're missing is the decision to start. So stop reading about change and become the change. Stop watching videos about transformation and start transforming. Stop talking about rebuilding and start destroying the old you right now, because 2026 is not coming. It's here, and either you rise to meet it or you get left behind. There is no third option. The choice is yours. Rebuild or regret. Become dangerous or stay invisible. Transform or fade. But whatever you choose, choose now, because this is your last warning, and time does not care about your feelings.